go back and watch. First off, I'd like to say thank you everyone so much for joining. I think this is one of the bigger groups that we've had for our Let's Talk series, so thank you so much for coming. I know it's a beautiful day outside, so really appreciate your time today. A few virtual webinar reminders. As mentioned, we will be recording today's talk. Please keep yourself on mute throughout the presentation, just so we can limit any interference or feedback. And then, as always, if you have any questions or concerns, please send it in the chat bar, and we will touch on those at the end of today's presentation. So once again, thank you so much for joining, and we are talking about how to choose a concentration and what concentrations are available to students who are pursuing psychology here at RMU. A little bit about me. I am one of the graduate assistants for psychology here at RMU, and then I'm also a second year in the Masters in Counseling Psychology program here. And then a few things that we'll be going over today. We'll touch on full-time psychology faculty here at RMU, undergraduate concentrations, minors that are often used with a psychology major. I'd like to touch on the integrated program that we have here, and then also just mention our graduate program. And we will go ahead and go into that then. So our full-time psychology faculty. As of right now, we have 4 full-time faculty members. We're looking to bring in a 5th one in the fall. We're not really sure who that is yet, but I'm sure as soon as we find out, there will be a mass welcome. RMU is really good about that. So I thought it would be important to start off with our department head for psychology. So Dr. Monda, she is the acting department head of psychology and health sciences, and she's also a professor of psychology here at RMU. So it's really cool to see her in both the teaching aspect, but then also being an advisor and providing other help to students and things like that. So it's a cool dynamic to see. And then a few of her areas of specialty are sports psychology, exercise and health psychology, and then student and athlete development. Next, we have Dr. Pandit. She is our Masters in Counseling Psychology Program Coordinator, and she's also a professor of psychology. She teaches at both the undergraduate and graduate level. Her areas of specialty are clinical counseling, marriage and family counseling, and then also abnormal psychology. And then we have Dr. Paul. He is a professor of psychology here at RMU. His areas of specialty are cognitive psychology, sensation and perception, and then research and methods psychology. And lastly, Dr. Wheeler. He's a professor of psychology here at RMU. His areas of specialty are industrial organizational psychology, adjustment psychology, and physiological psychology. And Dr. Wheeler also teaches one of the master's courses, but then he also teaches undergrad, and usually you see him more in the undergraduate classes. So our undergraduate concentrations. And when we're saying concentrations, we're meaning that you have the major in psychology, but then you can pick certain concentrations that meet your interests or are applicable to the field that you want to go into. So our undergraduate program allows our students to achieve a BS in psychology or a bachelor's in psychology with the option to declare concentration. And then we'll walk through the different concentrations that we have. So our clinical concentration. This concentration allows students to receive coursework that prepares them for graduate training in counseling or clinical psychology. And the coursework includes information on content and theories in the field. So an example is existentialism. That's a theory that's within the field. So the coursework that you would be receiving is preparing you and helping you understand or have a baseline understanding of those clinical concepts that you would be seeing in graduate work. Students will be able to practice their clinical skills through role plays and assessments. So an example of role play is during one of your classes, for example, group counseling, you'll see there at the bottom. You could be the counselor and your classmates are the group, and it would create a mock scenario where you're practicing your group counseling skills and learning how to develop those and strengthen those. And then, like I mentioned earlier, this builds a foundational baseline of your clinical skills that you can further develop and strengthen as you continue on to pursue graduate schooling within a clinical realm. And then I wanted to put the contact information for the specific concentrations in case students or admin people who are joining us today are able to look at those and say, oh, okay, this is who I would need to get in contact to. So the clinical concentration would either be Dr. Manda or Dr. Pandit. And then our clinical support concentration. So this concentration is newer. I want to say it's about 2 to 3 years old. Don't quote me on that, but the clinical sport concentration takes the clinical experience that we just talked about, but combines it with sport. So this course is a dual course of study. Students will gain experience with mental health and counseling in regard to the mental side of sport and exercise performance. So that's really looking at, if a athlete is struggling with depression, depression would be the clinical experience or clinical diagnosis that they're going through, but then it's also affecting how they're performing in their sport. So it's really taking those two worlds and combining them together. Students who are looking to apply or declare this concentration are able to apply to the concentration after 90 credits. This is usually usually after their junior year. You would fill out an application and send it to Dr. Manda to be reviewed. And then upon being admitted, you would go through the process of finding the classes that you need to take and things along those lines. And then a few of the examples of classes that you could look to be taking are psychology of sport, fundamentals of counseling, psychological assessment, and then exercise and health psychology. So even from those 4 class examples, you can really see how the two worlds are going to be incorporated together, and you learn those, but then you can apply it to the sport part. And then the source of contact would be Dr. Manda. And then a general concentration. So the general concentration is really geared towards students who might not really know if the concentration is right for them or not, but then also it allows them to gain any knowledge that they want in any field of psychology. You can work with your academic advisor to select courses that are related to your career interest. So say you want to pursue animal studies or cognitive behavioral studies of patients or animals or things along those lines. We have a lot of classes that you would be able to take that would help increase that interest or give you that experience. So maybe it is a confirmation like, yes, this is where I'd like to continue with my degree. Or it might be, okay, maybe this isn't what I was expecting, but that's okay. So it's a really great opportunity to gain any and all the experiences with classes and coursework that you might be interested in. And then with the general concentration, you can declare a minor, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, that are related to your areas of interest. And then you can take classes that also support that minor. So it's kind of a holistic view of psychology and the classes that you'll be taking. And then on the bottom, you'll see examples of classes. So methods in behavioral research, regardless if you have a concentration or not, all psychology students are required to take that. And then you have industrial psychology, physiological psychology. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you really have free realm to pick certain electives that are tailored to your interests. So I was a sports psychology major when I was at RMU for my undergrad. And I did sport coaching and sociology of sport as my electives that sufficed that sports psychology or the sport concentration that I was pursuing. So RMU really does have a really vast coursework that allows you to, like I said, create your own interest and make your degree what you would like it to be. And then the points of contact are, again, Dr. Monda and then Dr. Paul for the general. And then moving on, we have the industrial organizational concentration. So within this concentration, students will receive coursework that is focused on the scientific study of working. You'll be able to apply science to the workplace issues facing individuals, teams, and organizations. And then students can also expect to take some business classes on management theory and organizational behavior. And with an industrial organizational concentration, a lot of our students will seek jobs in human resources or being a consultant with businesses to see how they can make the business work better and help make the team be more cohesive, or work with the managers or bosses to help develop a better understanding of how can we be the most effective and what are some areas that we need to work on. So like I said, this concentration is seen a lot with human resources and in the world of business. So if you're interested in that, this might be the concentration that you follow. And then examples of some of the classes are cultural anthropology, psychological assessment, business ethics, and then human resource management. So like I mentioned, students will take psychology courses, but then their concentration specific courses might include business classes to learn that aspect of it as well. So just like with the sport and clinical, this is combining the psychology and business together. And then the points of contact for that are Dr. Monda and then Dr. Wheeler. And lastly, our sports psychology concentration. So this concentration allows students to pursue coursework that focuses on the mental side of sport and performance. And then aspects of psychology can be applied to improve athletic and exercise performance. And within sports psychology, we like to identify as well that although sport is in the name, sports psychology can be applied to all sorts of performers. So dancers or musicians or interpretive art dancers, and then athletes as well. So there's really a wide population of people that you can work with within a sports psychology degree, and by declaring that concentration. Students can expect to learn how to help clients develop mental skills that can help improve performance, but then they also learn about other mental health issues like anxiety or eating disorders and how those can affect performers, regardless of if they're a dancer, if they're a musician, or if they're an athlete. And then some of the examples of classes that you can expect to take are communication in sport, psychology of sport, exercise and health psychology, and then sociology of sport. And like I said, those are just a few of the examples of classes that you would be taking or could take by declaring a sports psychology concentration. And then the point of contact for that is Dr. Monda. So I mentioned earlier minors. So there's a few minors that are most often paired with a psychology major here at RMU. So you'll see off to the right-hand side, there's criminal justice, education, organizational leadership, sport management, forensics, sociology, nutrition, health services administration. And I am going to send in the chat a link that has the all of the minors at RMU that are available to you as a student. So even looking through that and maybe something piques your interest and that's a minor you'd like to declare. By declaring a minor with a psychology major, like I said, you're able to get a more personable and individualized experience with your degree. So I know a lot of students will do education with psychology if they're looking to maybe go into teaching down the road, or if they want to be a behavioral health support within the classroom and things like that. So there's a lot of different avenues that can open, not only with a psychology major, but then also adding in that minor aspect as well. And if you declare a concentration, so say you declare a sports psychology concentration, but you'd also like to minor in education, you have that ability to do so. You just have to get the minor cleared through your academic advisor and things along those lines. But like I said, those are some of the, only a few of the many minors that RMU has to offer. And then you would take the coursework that accommodates or represents that minor as well. Before I go into the 3+2 program, does anybody have any questions about the concentrations and minors that we touched on?
Do you want us to just wait till the end, or?
Sure, you can either wait till the end. I know that was a lot of information to throw at everyone, so I wanted to kind of take a moment to take a deep breath, and if there were any pressing questions, to give you guys the opportunity to ask those.
Alrighty, I think I'm good just to wait till the end.
Okay, awesome. Then we will keep going on. All right, so our 3+2 program. Our 3+2 program allows students to achieve a bachelor's in psychology as well as a master's in counseling psychology. And this is a new program within RMU and like the psychology department as well. So it's really cool to be able to talk about this and get more awareness around it, because it is new and not too many people know about it. So we'll kind of walk through what all is within it. So the 3+2 program is a 5-year track that offers qualified students to complete almost all their undergraduate work in 3 years, and then transition into completing 2 years of our counseling psychology program and the graduate work within that. Students who are accepted can begin their graduate work in the summer after their 3rd year. So after you complete your junior year of undergrad, that summer you would start into master's courses, and usually that's about 2 over the summer. So you would immediately start your graduate work and then continue that for 2 years while completing a few of your other undergraduate courses as well. So after completing this program, you will graduate with a bachelor's in psychology and then a master's in counseling psychology. So for 5 years, you get 2 degrees, which is really a great opportunity, and to be able to complete that within 5 years is really wonderful that RMU offers that possibility. And then another really cool part about the program is that once you graduate from the program, you'll meet the educational requirements that are necessary for a licensure as a professional counselor, so LPC, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So all of the coursework that you complete at your graduate level will enable you to take or be able to meet the requirements for the LPC and then start accumulating those hours in order to completely achieve that licensure. So it's a really, like I said, it's a great opportunity to, if you know this is the field you want to go into and counseling is that field, it's really great because it allows you to start that route as soon as you get in. And then you have to declare that you are interested in this program as a 3+2 student in your freshman spring semester, I do believe. So then you can be on track with your classes and everything continuing forward. And then the points of contact for this program is Dr. Monda and then Dr. Pandit. And Darlene, correct me if I'm wrong, are students able to reach out to you as well?
Yes, I can kind of help walk through the program, walk through the application process, and I can answer some questions for the program as well. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. Right, so Darlene's another resource that students are able to utilize as well to gain more information on the 3+2 program and things along those lines. So, great question. Like, how do you know which one is best for you? Sometimes students come in and they're like, I have no idea what I want to do with this. So a few points to really think about as you're considering concentrations and what you might want to declare is think about what interests you. So is it you really like being in a work world? Maybe industrial organizational psychology would be the concentration that you declare. Or maybe it's you love sports and you want to continue on to help professional football teams or professional baseball teams. Really thinking about what your interests are can help you find out and get a feel of what concentration might be the best fit for you. And then considering your goals that you have after graduating. So let's use the counseling example. Say you come in and you know that you want to be a counselor at the end of your schooling. Looking to the 3+2 program or declaring a clinical concentration can help you achieve that end goal. So really considering that as you're looking for a concentration and looking at what your goals are can be a really helpful way to decide what concentration might be best for you. And then, as you know, as I mentioned, how can specific concentrations help you achieve your goals? Looking at would declaring a minor be more helpful than a concentration? So say you come in with the general concentration, and then you declare a forensics minor. That would enable you to take criminal justice courses and learn a little bit more about the law side of things. And that might put you in a place where you want to be a police officer or things along those lines. So really considering maybe a minor would help you achieve your goals more so than a specific concentration like sports psychology or sports clinical, just having that general concentration and then declaring a minor. And then I know a big focus of this was the concentrations available to undergraduate students, but I thought it would also be important to touch on our graduate program as well for students who might be interested in down the road pursuing that or looking into that. So our graduate program enables students to achieve a master's in counseling psychology, in addition to meeting the requirements to become a licensed professional counselor in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So just as the 3+2 program sets students up for that, our graduate program does that as well. And then a little overview of the MSN Counseling Psychology program. So students will work through a 2-year cohort that's 60, and it's a 60 credit program. They will be provided with a foundation in counseling skills, assessment, individual and group therapy, and many other skill sets. So again, it goes back to looking at theories and interventions and therapy approaches. A practicum and internship are part of the program, so students can gain professional experience while in a supervised setting. So it's a very hands-on program. We want you to start getting experience counseling and developing your skills as soon as possible. And like it mentions, in a supervised setting. Those who complete the program will again meet the LPC requirements. And then classes take place in the evenings twice a week from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. In the first year, it's Mondays and Wednesdays. And then in the second year, it is Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. So like I said, I know the graduate program wasn't a big focus of today's presentation, but I did want to touch on that in case students or even faculty and staff that are joining us today have students that might be interested in this in the long run. And then points of contact are, again, Dr. Monda and Dr. Pandit. And then I think questions. So I know that was kind of a short presentation, but I really wanted to allow time for questions to be answered and help anything or provide more information. So at this time, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask away.
I guess I'll start then.
Sure.
So about the concentrations, if you're in a general concentration, which I am in psychology, does that still like prepare you for the future as well? Does having a set concentration set you apart from other people, or is it basically the same outcome because you're still able to build your own concentration basically?
That's a really great question. So all psych students are required to take specific coursework. So if you go into your check sheet, you'll see the general coursework that all students have to take, and then you'll see the psychology specific coursework. And then underneath that so yours is general. So that's where you would be really able to create your own experience, like you mentioned. So all students are getting the same psychology core coursework. It's just those electives. And because you're in a general concentration, you have more room to really create that experience. So to answer, that's a very long answer to your question, but the core coursework that you are receiving is the same for all psychology majors. So I wouldn't necessarily say having one concentration puts you ahead of the other, because everyone's receiving that same core coursework and then developing their specific interests or skill sets with their electives or minor, whatever they would choose.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then about the 3+2 program, you were saying that most people, have to declare that they're interested in that during like the spring of their freshman year. And I transferred in, so I'm a junior now. How does that work if that is something that I'm interested in?
That's a great question. I don't have a good answer on that. Darlene just left. She might have been trying to unmute herself. But yes, I don't have a good answer for that. I can ask Dr. Monda or Dr. Pandit and explain to them the question that you had and see if they'd be willing to reach out to ask you if you'd be okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, oh, go ahead.
Like send you my email in the chat or?
Yes, so I'll put my email. Yeah, I'll send my email in the chat so that way you're able to send me just, name, and then so I'll have your email address as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, so thank you so much for answering, Mary. Elena, or I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly.
You're okay. It's Eliana, or you can just call me Ellie for short.
Okay, Ellie. So Mary put in the chat that she is a freshman and she's just waiting to see if she got in. And she did apply for the 3+2 program. But due to you being a transfer student, like I said, I'm not entirely sure on that. So I will make sure to have Dr. Monda or Dr. Panda reach back out. And then,
thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then does anybody else have any questions regarding concentrations, minors, about psychology majors or the program in general?
I think I have one more question. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but you were saying that the 3+2 program does it allows you to be qualified for the LPC. Correct. But that's NPA. So after you get the license, can you take a license test for somewhere else, or would you only have the background to be licensed in PA?
Right, that's another really good question. So with the LPC, it does have, like, you will meet the requirements for Pennsylvania, but if you have that, there's different names for the same licensure in other states. So say you went to Ohio, I think it's LPCC would be the credential, but essentially it would be the same testing. You would just have to retake it in Ohio to meet their standards. So the curriculum overall will prepare you for that. There just might be a few additional questions or things along those lines for the licensure exam in Ohio, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. For the staff and faculty that are present today, are there any questions that you all have?
Hi, this is Sue Wallace from the Career Center. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was really informative, and we definitely enjoyed it. Thank you. But I have questions. I appreciate it, though.
Yes, of course. And I can send you so we upload these to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. So I can email you the link as well, if that would be helpful.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Sure, of course.
So my email it's just walls@rmu.edu, and then I can share it with our staff. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for joining. I'm glad to see see some faces outside of psychology and things like that. I'm glad. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh, you're welcome. We will keep it in mind for future presentations. Like I said, it's great information for us as well to know what's going on and changing in your department. So this was an excellent opportunity for us.
So glad you were able to join and enjoyed it. Thank you. Okay, so if that's all the questions that we have, thank you all so very much for joining today. I'm glad you were able to come out. And like I said, I know it's super nice out, so I do appreciate you stopping in and joining us. And as always, if you have any questions, my email is in the chat as well, or you can email me at psych, assistant, assistant@rmu.edu, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. So thank you so much, and everybody have a great day.